Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're looking at a deeply chilling piece of Indian village folklore that's going to make you completely rethink what goes bump in the night. I mean, imagine a place where the setting sun doesn't just bring darkness, it brings a profound, literal, life-threatening terror. We're exploring the story of Khandwa village, which is a place governed by an absolute, terrifying curfew. And as we go through this, I really want you to put yourself in the shoes of the villagers who live every single day listening for the evening bell, knowing exactly what it signifies.
So what actually happens in Khandwa village when the clock strikes 7? Well, when it gets close to that hour, a bell begins to toll across the village. And it is definitely not a gentle reminder, it's a blaring alarm. The source material describes this immediate, frantic rush. Shopkeepers just abandon their stalls, people mid-conversation scatter, and anyone lingering is aggressively warned to get indoors right that second. Because if you're caught outside after 7 p.m., the villagers believe with absolute certainty that you simply won't survive the night.
Which brings us to Section 1, the daily curfew and its rules of survival.
To actually survive the night here, villagers have to strictly adhere to 4 unbending protocols. We see these enforced through the eyes of a father, Rana Saka, who acts kind of like an informal warden for his young son, Dev. Rule 1, be home by 7 p.m. Rule 2, close all the windows. Rule 3, draw the curtains. And Rule 4, which is absolutely the most critical of them all, never, under any circumstances, open the door. Rana Saka drills these into Dev with military precision. But, what exactly are they hiding from?
The answer lies in a threat they call the Bashinde. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that these aren't just your typical mindless beasts roaming around after dark. They are highly intelligent entities with a frankly terrifying parasitic life cycle. If you are caught and killed, you don't just die. You actually transform into one of them. You literally become a monster that returns night after night to hunt the very people you used to love.
And that perfectly sets up Section 2, the deception and a knock at the door.
You see, the true horror of the Bashinde is deeply psychological. Imagine this. One evening, young Dev is following his father's orders, closing the windows as the 7 p.m. bell tolls. Suddenly, a voice right outside pleads with him, "I just lost my way. Let me in." But here's the kicker. It's the voice of his deceased mother, Nandini. She's out there telling Dev that she isn't dead, that his father lied, and that she fought so hard to come back to him. This is their absolute most dangerous weapon. The Bashinde use love and hope to trick the living into willingly breaking that critical 4th rule.
Naturally, Dev, being just a kid, is completely taken in by this. He goes to unlatch the door, fully ready to welcome his mom home. But in a heart-stopping moment, all the lights in the house just snap off. In the pitch black, Dev's father, Ranasan, grabs him, yanks him away from the door, and whispers this harsh, devastating reality. She is dead. Ranasan actually has to physically restrain his son in another room, all while the entity outside, wearing his wife's face, just continues to beg and cry to be let in.
This absolutely intense scene really explains the logic behind rule number 3, drawing the curtains. Rana Salhi tells Dev that the curtains aren't just there to hide their physical bodies from view. No, they're there to block the entity's most powerful weapon, which is hypnotic manipulation. If you make eye contact, or if you even start engaging in conversation with them, their deception literally takes root in your mind. So the curtains act as this literal and metaphorical barrier against fatal temptation.
Let's move to Section 3, the flashback and the bus tragedy. The next morning, to prove to Dev that the thing at the door was absolutely not his mother, Ranasad takes him out to a ruined bus on the outskirts of the village. He needs to explain the dark history of what went down 7 months prior. Just look at the chilling timeline of that tragic night. At 4 a.m., Ranasa and Nandini were returning from the city way too late, and they found the village already locked down. By 5 a.m., the Bashinde spotted them. Ranasal managed to scramble into the bus, but Nandini, she stood frozen outside, drawn by a sound in the dark. And by sunrise, the entities simply vanished with the morning light, leaving Ranasal completely alone.
So what on earth kept Nandini outside the bus? Well, the entities didn't use brute force to stop her. Instead, they projected the voices of crying, terrified children out in the dark. Her last words show us exactly how her own maternal instincts were weaponized against her. She called out, "Don't cry. Come with me. We can hide in the bus." They used her very goodness, her instinct to protect, as the bait to draw her to her death.
So the crucial point here is the agonizing lesson Rana Sahib has to impart to his son. The dead do not return as humans. It's tough to hear, but whatever came back to the village last night, whatever knocked on their door and used Dev's name,
was simply a monster wearing Nandini's face. It's a really harsh reality, but in Khandwa, accepting this truth is literally the only way you survive.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 4, the ultimate reveal and Babin's secret.
Dev is obviously still seeking answers, so he goes to visit Babin. Now, Babin is the village skeptic. He mockingly ignores everyone else's fear, yet he inexplicably survives every single night. While Dev is hanging out with this incredibly audacious guy, 7 p.m. strikes, and sure enough, the entity of Nandini arrives at Babin's window. But check out this bizarre contradiction. Over at Dev's house, the entity was practically begging to be let in. But Babin? He actually mocks the creature, swings his front door wide open, and invites her inside. And surprisingly, the entity just freezes. She completely refuses to cross the threshold and starts begging Babin to come outside instead.
Seeing this bizarre behavior triggers a massive realization for Dev. He thinks back to his father's story. Nandini was killed outside, but the entities surrounded that bus for hours until sunrise. And yet, they never once went inside the bus to kill Rana Shah. Why? I mean, what stopped them from entering an open bus back then? And what exactly is stopping this entity from walking right through Babin's open front door right now?
Well, the answer lies in a specific, secret artifact. The morning after Rana Shah's tragedy, Babin actually went to inspect that bus to figure out why the Bashinde couldn't get in, and he found something hanging inside. It was a Rudraksha mala. For those who might not know, that's a traditional prayer bead necklace made from the seeds of the Rudraksha tree, and it's deeply revered in Hindu tradition for its protective spiritual properties.
And this brilliantly illustrates the hidden mechanics of safety in Khandwa. Babin took that exact Rudraksha mala from the ruined bus and hung it right over his own front door. As he tells Dev, hang this on the door and these monsters cannot enter. It acts as a completely invisible, impenetrable barrier. The Bashinde can deceive, they can mimic voices, and they'll try everything to lure you out. But there's absolutely no way they can cross a threshold protected by that mala.
The lore of Khandwa village is just an absolute masterclass in psychological terror, right? It pits our most basic, beautiful human desire for connection right up against our primal need to survive. And it leaves us with this haunting final thought, which is the ultimate question I want you to take away from this explainer today. Knowing all the rules and knowing the terrifying manipulative deception of the Bashinde, if you were sitting in your living room and the clock struck 7:01 p.m. and you clearly heard the voice of your dearest lost loved one begging you to let them in, would you honestly have the strength to keep that door closed?